All right, everybody, this is Frederick, founder and publisher of Saturday AM, the world's most diverse manga brand. And boy, I look like a mess, I'm sure. We have literally been up all night working on this cool little virtual convention for you guys that will air today and tomorrow. Now, I'm going to let you know up front, there's going to be some tweaks along the way because we've had some technical difficulties to be expected. We've had trying to get different folks involved and so forth, which has been difficult to get in. We had one drop out late last evening. So it's always tough to do these type of things, but to do it in this context with this level of ambition reminded me that this is really what Saturday AM has done for the past 9 years, which is to strive to do something everyone thinks about doing, but to actually do it and be unapologetic about attempting to do it, to strive to do the best job we can, and to demand that we do it to the best of our ability and always continue to improve after that. So this is going to be a very interesting event. I promise you guys there'll be some hiccups along the way, but we will certainly and absolutely look forward to you guys being here and taking your time out of your schedules to hear what we have to say and what the incredible guests that we have all weekend have to say. Truly, we appreciate your support for these past 9 years, and I can tell you the future is looking incredibly bright. So with that being said, let's start this whole campaign off. This weekend event starts right now. This first panel is about the history of Saturday AM, and we often get questions about how we started and how I kind of got all these folks together. And I thought there's no better way, given everything we're going to be talking about with this weekend, than to start the panel off with a little retrospective of how we built this. Now, when we started the company, there were 5 of us, and 2 of them are no longer with the company, but the 3 of us have remained. The first 3 have remained since the very beginning. So this is the original founders of Saturday AM, and I'm extremely honored and proud to have them with me here today. And to ask questions, I thought we needed to get 2 guys who I thought were really incredible. And you're going to meet them today. You've heard of them in their podcast. You can have a chance to actually see them today. So I think first up, I know people are managing this on the back end. First up, I want to welcome the first person I reached out to about Saturday AM, and that is Raymond Brown, creator of Bully Eater. So,
everybody,
I got to tell you guys, you're going to see Raymond, because of Saturday AM, he's bought himself a fancy new house.
See, little do you know, Frederick, this is a green screen behind me. I'm in the closet.
So it's good to see Raymond. Next up, I think he's in the room. I don't know if White Manga is here. Of course, you all know superstar in our group, White Manga. Raymond actually was the one who introduced me to him, and so White Manga should be here. If he's not here, Carlos, then is he here? I don't know if we have a little thing yet. Okay, so if White's not here, then let's move on to White will be here shortly. Bring up then the 2 guys who would be moderating this quick panel on the history of Saturday AM. These are 2 of the truly, truly gifted podcast authors you'll see, the hosts, Ed and Solo of Suuuper Anime Podcast. Authors you'll see, the host.
Hey, we live?
Of Suuuper Anime Podcast.
Hello. It's nice to meet everyone. It's nice to be here.
Absolutely. It's good to see you guys as well.
Hey, we live?
Suuuper Anime Podcast. What do you guys having some reverb going back?
Nice to be here.
Absolutely. It's good to see you guys as well.
Hey, we live? Ed, you want to sort yourself out then, yeah? Just a few things there. You're embarrassing us already. We're on the main stage and this is already happening. This is the best introduction to what we do. We're a lot better. And there's speakers already. We're on the main stage and this is already happening. Apologies.
We expect things to happen, but I do want to tell you guys that if you guys have not heard Suuuper Anime Podcast, you guys are missing out. These are 2 of the funniest and 2 of the most relatable guys, period, regardless of your nationality, your background. These guys really love anime, and they talk about it in such intelligent and funny tone. So it's a real honor to have them doing this interview. So hey guys, it's nice to see you guys again.
Oh no, thank you very much. So can we take it away? Can we start the sesh?
Yep.
Perfect. As you know me, Fred, I like to do my intros. So let's start this. We are live. Yes, we are live with the first panel session of Saturdaycon, where we'll be discussing, as Frederick just said, the history of Saturday M with the founders Frederick, Raymond, and White Manga. We will delve into the highs, the lows, the pain, the goals, the lovers, the dramas, the haters, the trolls. But before we get into that, you must be thinking, who is this wannabe DMX on the screen? Well, my name is Ed, and I am the host, as Frederick said, of the Suuuper anime podcast. That's Super with 3 U's. Listened to now in over 100 countries, the Suuuper Anime Podcast is a show that looks to entertain, inspire, and inform you about anime. We provide all our thoughts, we provide opinion and thoughts on various anime topics, as well as look at it from a real-world perspective on what we can learn from anime. Whether you're new to anime or seasoned veteran, we invite you to come, listen, share, and laugh with us. And with that said, and with me, is my less handsome but equally qualified permanent special guest Solo, who's probably thinking, Ed, go to sleep. Like, just go to sleep. You see what I did there, Solo? Because Go to Sleep is a DMX song. He's a bit slow. He's a bit slow. But enough of that.
You know what? I'm gonna interrupt you. I'm just gonna interrupt you. So anyone who's listening to our podcast, this happens every episode. Every episode. You think he's doing it just for today? No, he's permanently at this level at all times. Okay. So we got to back each other up. But carry on. Hi.
Enough of that. Let's get it on the floor. Let's get it on the floor. In this case, see what I did there again, Solo. Or in this case, to the floor with the founders of Saturday M. But before we start that, I want to get the audience involvement. So here's what I want to do. Everyone watching all around the world, as we have this discussion, I want you to type in the chat what kind of Pokemon you think the founders are based on what you hear today. Right now, it's beginner level. So Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur. I won't influence you into saying who is who, which Pokemon is who. But as the conversation goes on, feel free to drop in the chat which Pokemon you think they are based on their given personalities. Now, you don't have to do me and Solo, because as you can see by my electrifying personality, I am in fact the legendary Pokemon Zapdos and Solo's Psyduck. So, it's all good there. So without further ado, let's start the discussion. And I want to take it back. Back to 2013 when Saturday M was founded, when Fred had hair and he was reliving his glory days with the high top, or was it a Jericho? I think it was a Jericho. So how did you guys meet? Like, how did the Avengers assemble in a sense? And, what were your first impressions about each other?
So the first thing that happened was the series My Massively Multiplayer Ghosts. I came up with gotta love these Amber Alerts that happen all of a sudden. Yeah, gotta say, but Amber Alerts ain't playing. So the first comic we came up with, our first series was called Massively Multiplayer Ghosts. I developed that with Eric Michael Eller from the Philippines, and at that time there was a bunch of web comics out there. It's kind of like Webtoon type material today, but it was just web comics. It was just the traditional comic page uploaded to websites and stuff. And it was really exciting. I grew up being a comic fan in the 80s, so I saw it and I thought, man, this is really cool. Like, I didn't know the internet had gotten this big, because I had been around for the entire evolution of comics online. And I had never seen, and just the proliferation of it at that point was pretty incredible to me. So we had a blog. I was trying to get promotion for it, trying to get it out there, like a needle in a haystack, which is even worse today. But I had this website called My Footprint, which is our parent company, and I just would interview people. That was my way to as you guys know, podcast, right? It allows you to meet different types of people. Mm-hmm. And I just was doing written interviews on the website just to kind of get a sense of what was going on out there and stuff. It was very new to me. I spent my career before that into corporate America, so in video games. So it was really new to me, this whole kind of original Tumblr social media type thing. And I saw Bully Eater, which was Raymond Brown's work, and Ed Solo, you already know what I'm about to say. I saw Bully Eater, I thought that's a cool concept, and then I saw the name Raymond Brown. I thought,
He's black.
I'm like, I'll reach out to him. I think we can. I think I know him. And sure enough, when we got in touch, I was like, oh yeah, he's black. He's black. So
we have.
Yeah. So that's to answer your question. That's to answer your question. When you were like, yeah, what did you think of each other? I thought he's black.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar experience when Fred reached out. I was posted my comic online and stuff like that, like everybody was at the time. He hit me up. We set up a call, and he told me, "Hey, man, I got this idea for this Shonen Jump styled magazine. We can make $1,000 a month." Done. I'm still waiting, Fred. I'm still waiting. But
he's gonna reimburse you soon. Don't worry, it's coming.
One day. It's been 8 years, but hey, that's fine. It's coming. One man of faith, it's coming.
When we sell this company, you're like, man, I've got a Maserati. Like, don't say nothing then.
Yeah, Fred, I won't say anything except for
buy your toy car Maserati. Just like, hey, man.
That's right.
The dream is the bill.
It's coming to the bill. $499 Tesla. Sorry, Raymond, go ahead.
Oh, but no. But yeah, I mean, it was something that I always wanted to do, but it was something that though I was an artist, I understood that I didn't really have the skill set to kind of like put together something like this, but it was kind of a match made in heaven, with Fred's background. A lot of the things that he worked on were pretty much staples of my youth. Blockbuster, Yu-Gi-Oh, all the different Shaman King, definitely, all these different things that I found out on the back end that I loved, that I found out on the back end that he worked on. So it was kind of like, wow, so I was like, well, I'm not much of a businessman, but just point me in the right direction, and I'll do, whatever we need to do to get this thing going. So
yeah, no, thanks very much. And those are two excellent animes, Yu-Gi-Oh and Shaman King, and we've discussed that a lot on our podcast. So so moving on the timeline. So being an entrepreneur is very difficult, as you know. It's like pushing a boulder up a hill, very, very hard. But once you start building up steam, it gets easier or gets better. How did you go about it, Frederick, and you guys, in terms of, was it organic, or did you require seed investment to where you are here regarding Saturday AM? Has this been an organic journey, or is it just more so you've had some investment elsewhere? Just wanted to know.
It's definitely been organic, and I and one of the reasons I wanted to do this convention this weekend was to specifically, I don't know if sorry, I'm getting notes as I'm talking. So like I said, it's gonna be a very difficult day today, because I'm getting all these notes trying to tell me, like, to close on my tab or whatever. I don't know what's happening, but I look a bit choppy. Okay, well, they can just hear me. They don't need to see me. But no, I think that so it's been organic, first of all. And the reason that we do Saturdaycon, the reason why I want people to be able to hear what we're talking about is because when you are a person of color, when you are not in certain sectors, and I was in some pretty attractive sectors, but Saturday AM in comics was not an attractive sector in 2013. Like today, there are all these people investing in comic books, so they think they've got the next Walking Dead, the next anime or whatever. But back then, like, you couldn't get anybody to care about what we were doing, especially when I said, I've got a couple of African Americans, or people of African descent. We want to create comics and in manga style at that. It doesn't, don't traditionally look like us. No one took us seriously. And so it's been quite a journey to see how they take us seriously today, but they didn't take us seriously at all back then. So we had to bootstrap. So we did it all ourselves. That very first issue, talked about this repeatedly. Raymond and I, we worked on it the entire evening, 24 hours, putting that first issue out. And I think that, and the reason why I tell the story so frequently is because it's digital, right? It's digital. Like, who's gonna miss it? It's digital. If we came in late, we said we're gonna drop on this date. If we missed the date by 2 or 3 days, who's gonna care? It's digital, right? But we care. And the fact that we cared, the fact that we said, no, this is what we said we're going to do, we're going to do it. And the fact that Raymond, we had 5 guys, and no, there's no shade to the other 3, but Raymond was there with me. We didn't know what we were doing. He was there with me that night to make sure that we put the whole thing through. And that was, to answer your original question about what I think of him, Raymond's a really nice guy. I thought he was a nice dude. It was at that moment I was like, oh, this is a brother that I can ride this for the rest of my career. He put himself out there, as I'm sure the two of you have seen with each other, and he was willing to sacrifice, do something, just strictly off of my belief that this was something that we could do and do well at. And so yeah, that we've had to bootstrap. And now things are going a little better, but it's always a perpetual journey. And I'll just say one last thing. I'm sure you guys have experienced this at some point, or maybe you have. But as you start having more success, and people start calling, you then don't want to take investment because you don't give up what you fought to build. Right? You don't want to have to lose that authenticity. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, authenticity is key, especially in today's age, you know. And great comments about Raymond and, you know, how you guys got together. Raymond, feel free to blink twice if you're there against your will and anything. I'm joking. Oh my gosh. But you mentioned the first issue, and you know, that was actually going to be my next question, you know, in terms of, were there any disagreements? Because it sounds like you two kind of worked in sync regarding this first issue. Were there any disagreements? Solo and I disagree all the time, so
we do. We're always arguing, like all the time. There's some wild things.
Well, yeah, were there any disagreements? And my follow-up question to that is, what's the evolutionary process been since the first issue to the latest one? So first one, were there any disagreements, or was it all good?
I mean, it's a weird space because I mean,
your face was frozen. That's why you asked that question.
No, it wasn't. I was just sitting there. No, it wasn't frozen. I was just sitting there. Look,
my God.
But no, I mean, well, I tell you, it's funny. I mean, disagree. I mean, it's weird. I really, I mean, this sounds weird, but like with Fred, you know, I've always, you know, trusted his, you know, his, you know, what he said about this stuff, you know, given his background and all that stuff. So even if I did disagree, I didn't really make it, you know, I mean, you know, I didn't fight on the big things, you know, like if, you know, Fred and I, you know, we, you know, he'll tell you politically we're on different sides, but I mean, we agree on way more things than we disagree on by far.
Yeah.
So for me, Fred has always been really good, and you know, everyone on the team can attest to this. But even though Fred has the experience he has, and you know, he has kind of, you know, he has the know-how, he still always gets our input. You know, even if we, you know, don't have as much experience in the situation or what have you, he'll always, you know, ask us what we think about the situation, which was always kind of, you know, always kind of struck me because, I mean, you know, with his experience, he can just, you know, a lot of the stuff he can just, you know, just do without even really talk to us about it, and it'll work out great. But he always involves us, stuff like that. So, like I said, most of the time, my strategy with Fred was just kind of just to, you know, hear him out, you know, let him, you know, tell me what he has to say. And even if I disagree on it, I'll actually, you know, I would, you know, just kind of stew on it for a minute by myself. You know, I wouldn't say anything right then. I would just kind of think about it and think about, you know, if I have, you know, the perspective to even, you know, pose a counter argument. If I had one, I would. If I didn't, I said, you know what, Fred's got the, you know, he's got the company's best interest in mind. So, you know, I'll just go with it. So, you know.
That's absolutely, and you know, diversity isn't just about, you know, race, color, creed, all that stuff. It's also about thought. You know, you don't want an echo chamber of just people saying, you don't want a yes man, yes kind of thing. You also want to, you know, actually this might be a better way, or this might be a better solution. And other than my case where Solo just has to do what he's told, but you know, it's sort of,
I'm suffering in silence. I mean, he you the same thing you do to him, Fred does to me. He'll get me on a call. Today, you know. But it's okay. It's all right.
So we have a support group.
For real, we need a 1-800 number. Yeah,
We can exchange numbers. We can, we can just share traumatizing stories with each
for
other.
real. Battered number twos. That's what.
Well, I'm just telling you right now, the two of you are going to do that. Then we're going to capture this image of Raymond that's frozen on my screen. You can use that. You can use that as a help sign. Are you struggling on the inside? Raymond is so low.
Is your soul officially crushed?
One thing I'll say on the, Ed's, what Ed said is 100% correct about diversity of opinion. And one of the things I would say, that is always a struggle is, like you said, like as Raymond said, and I wouldn't give myself that type of praise. I mean, I get frustrated, and so forth all the time with people in our group. But what I would say is that I say two things. One is that leadership, and that's something I try to talk to our guys about a lot and try to teach them a lot, because it's easy to be loud, right? It's very difficult to lead, and there are a lot of folks who think because they're loud that's leadership, and that's or because they're popular, and those are fundamentally not what leadership is. Leadership is literally doing the work, even when there's nothing to be gained from it, even when there's no support that you have or some sort of prestige you get afterwards. You still do the work because you recognize that doing this work is going to uplift community or group. That's what leadership is. And doing the work means as well recognizing the things that need to be done and making sure they get done. It's easy to see the exciting, shiny stuff. It's the small stuff that you have to be focused on to make sure it happens. That's why I talked the story all the time about Raymond and I working on the first issue. The comics were done, but putting the comics together, having the table of contents, having the articles, having all these different things done, that was the part that Raymond and I understood and said, we got to do this. We could have just said, no one cares, it's not important. And to be frank with you, it wasn't like people cared about those things, but we felt it was important because it helped bring the brand to a certain level of solidity. So, when I try to impart on his leadership, the diversity of opinion thing, though, does have, and I want to make this clear to everybody, it does have one element, though, that's crucial. One element that I don't tolerate, and that is being disrespectful. I think that's an element where, because again, oftentimes Saturday, and we do have a lot of young people who, for them, this is their first real working experience in their lives. Certainly the most kind of high profile working experience, right? I mean, if you work in fast food or some, concierge job, that's not the same thing as having to deal with multimedia, international fan base. So, I get folks all the time. We have people in the group all the time who are conservative, who are liberal, who are religious, who are not religious, who are gay, who are straight, and so on. And my thing is always that that Saturday AM is a community. The culture is that we all matter. And so, as a Black man running the company, if I can not be if I can be not pressured, or at least not allow myself to be pressured by Black folks saying you need more Black characters, because I recognize that we got Indian brothers and sisters out there who don't get a chance to see themselves in media. We have Muslim brothers and sisters out there. We have different Asian brothers and sisters out there. Manga and anime are Japanese, but you got Indian, you got Filipino, you got Vietnamese, like you got Korean that are starting to explode now. But you got a lot of subcategories and different aspects of the Asian diaspora who want to see themselves, and I consider all of that responsibility to anybody in media. So when you're building a group like this and building a culture like this, what you can't have are people who are tripping because they want to be at the top of the food chain. And the thing about it is that, don't get it twisted, it's important that they express themselves. It's important that they let themselves be heard, and it's important as well as a leader to let them do that to a degree. Because as a Black man, as Black men, we know the frustration of not always being heard. We understand what it feels like to have to express ourselves sometimes and have to be a little loud, have to be a little kind of rambunctious, because people ain't paying attention to us anyway. And almost like we have that scream to get them to pay attention. So I get that. But like I said, we've had times in our company's career, I'm sure we will going forward. And I say this to everybody out there who wants to start a podcast, like Ed Polo wants to start something like Saturday AM or their own operation, whether it's white owned or Indian owned or Asian or black owned or whatever, that diversity of customer, diversity of content, diversity of opinion are all critical. The only thing that truly matters is respect.
Absolutely.
I would agree with that. Some of the podcasts that Ed and I have done, the ones where we've had the most fun, have been the ones where we actually argue, but in a respectful way. Those are the ones we have the most fun on, and those are the ones that people talk to us the most about. So we can sit here and joke, and we like, for instance, Ed thinks Pokemon's the best anime of all time.
Oh my god! No, Solo, no, I'm not having that.
Let's just go past that. So anyway, nonetheless, we have a nice, like, respectful way of dealing with it, but it just means that we're comfortable, I guess, sharing our own opinion in an environment where no one's gonna kind of like put you down for it.
That's right.
Which is really cool. It's really good. One question go on then, Ed. I know you want to defend
that point. There's one. I think one of the 7 habits of highly effective people is listening. And I think, to your point, Fred, like, listening is such a key skill. Most people just talk and don't listen. And really, you should really listen, regardless if you think you know more or not. You will find so much knowledge, even just listening to what people are saying, even if you don't think they're right or wrong. It's just about making sure that you're able to hear what they're saying, because sometimes we miss each other in terms of our communication. You might be saying the same thing, but just missing each other. And then the other thing about enablement, I was listening to it's a creative agency called BBH here in the UK, and he, the founder, he was talking about how the typical form of a triangle, where the CEO is at top, they subvert it, whereby he actually is the tip at the bottom, and what his job is to enable all his employees. Just like you said, in terms of enabling people, whether you're Indian, black, whatever race or creed you are there as a support system to enable people to, do the best work they can. I completely agree with that. Before you go into your question, Solo, because I know Fred said this, did you guys get any backlash regarding, because you mentioned, Fred, like Japanese, obviously, manga? Did anyone come, you're not manga, blah blah blah? Did you get all those criticism and critiques and all that stuff?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I want to look at the screen and be like, are we black? Of course I did. Of course I did. But as I said in the podcast that I did with you guys a while back, one of them that I was raised by 2 very strong black parents who both had their own businesses at one point, both who forged into territories throughout my childhood, and things that they didn't know, but they did it, had to frequently doing it or having to engage with people, clients or whatever, who were white, and so I learned at a very early age to not be afraid of the sort of things that typically happen to us, these sort of quiet trauma that we deal with all the time. People kind of underestimating us or trying to delegitimize us. But yeah, we got it. In fact, just the other night I was talking to somebody and they raised it, and they were very respectful. I don't want to at all suggest that they were like, why are you guys calling yourselves manga? But they were curious. They were like, so we weren't sure because we didn't understand the whole manga thing. And I'm like, well, I explained the situation, and that that our view of manga is, well, again, I've talked about this with you guys, but I'll just say it one more time. But like the hip hop thing, I say this all the time, and to me it's so obvious. I don't know why people don't talk about this, but like the same way people view hip hop is the way people view manga. Like hip hop is in the soul. So if you a hip hop, if you Stormzy in the UK, you ain't worried about what Lil Nas X thinks about you. I mean, maybe for a collab, but you ain't worried about that. You know what I'm saying? You got your own fans, you killing it in your country and so forth, and you have international success. You ain't worried about what another group thinks about your work. When you making money and you got your own fans, you got your own voice. Like that's attacking agency. And so I just think that there's something crazy about that notion that like manga somehow is only Japanese. I don't understand how we got to that point to where people think that, especially given today where so many people are exposed to anime manga. And they're creating it in African countries, in Far Eastern Asian countries, in the Middle East. There's an explosion in the Middle East. In Latin America, it's long been popular in Latin America. I just don't get it, but we got pushback. I don't let that.
And so how, Raymond, sorry, go on, Zola.
Yeah, just on that note, and I'll put this to you, Roman. Like, so how did you go about, with that in mind, how did you go about choosing what content you would put in that first issue or those first few issues? How did you, what was your thought process? Was it you want type of representation from all areas, or what was the thought process around that first issue?
Well, the first thing, it needed to be good. It needed to be good because with those kind of views of you guys are not really manga, you guys are you guys are black, you guys black people don't make manga, quote unquote, or whatever. Like whatever we put out, it had to be good content. Last thing we need to do is put out something that that was subpar. So we all the creators that we that we featured in the first issue. We had a I would say we had a lot to choose from. A lot of people submitted to us, but there was only a handful of people that we felt really good about as far as moving forward with, particularly with that first issue. But I mean, really, it's funny. It's really just kind of a culture shift because growing up, my age, I'm almost 40. And I remember there was a time where, if you were black, you weren't, you had to be like a closet geek. You might like play video games, but you didn't really broadcast that out to the whole world. You might bump into another person that might be might like play Sonic the Hedgehog 2. You're like, oh, you like to play, and it was like a club or something like that. So, Saturday AM's been around long enough. Really, we've seen it go from kind of just this wild west of just internet content to actual content that's good and can be read and enjoyed, that actually has story, character, and stuff like that. So I don't know if that answered your question at all, but
no, it did.
but I mean that at least that's where it come from. I mean, it was we were just looking for the best content we could find that stood out, because there was a lot of webcomics out there, a lot. What
was your rationale for picking a good content? What does good content look like to you both?
Well, obviously, art is one thing. Obviously, it brings people in and stuff like that. But like we took, I think one of the first people we drafted. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fred. I think it was White. Was it like after
we got you?
Yeah. I mean, White even back then was already a presence. Like he had a huge following already. His art was ridiculous. Apple Black was around. I think it was in chapter 3 or 4 at the time. So I mean, it was really had a fan base going. And we were just like, look, if we can just snag that dude, that'd be a big get. And we wound up getting up with him, and the rest is history. So we were able to do that. So one of the things that I think White was doing, White, like I said, White's audience, White actually had a readership built in when we came. Same as me, nowhere near as big as White, but that was definitely another key factor we looked for too. Just who actually had a following already, who already had readers that can come along for the ride, and that would and that's one of the other criteria that we were looking for as well too.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that, I mean, at the very beginning, I was and that was something really important to me. And that's what I did in Indian American. And so I wanted to find that diversity. Now, initially, right, the notion of diversity was, here's someone who isn't Japanese creating content. Okay, cool. I know that they'll have a perspective they can offer if they have a black character, maybe it's a bit more natural and authentic. But what ended up happening, the audio.
It's a bit hazy.
Okay.
Sound better now.
Okay, I was gonna say I made the mistake of trying to do something while I was talking to you guys. I blame Raymond for this. That's mine. Oh yeah, sorry. That's Solo. That's how it works, Solo.
I do the same thing to Solo.
Do I need to pull up my screen and show you my internet speed at 400 something? Do I got to do that?
400.
Yeah, man, I got that fiber, son.
You got fiber,
yeah, man.
Just so you know, Solo's in therapy right now because of me.
so I'm looking at my treatment of Raymond and going like,
It's like, oh,
yeah,
you're
being
I'm just
triggered.
yeah.
So what I was saying on the diversity side of things is that it was really important to me. And look, Raymond will tell you that like I used to get on Raymond, I got on White, got on Cindy, who joined us by issue 4. She was one of our first big additions. But like I told all of them, like it bugged me then to see people who are not Japanese creating characters who don't look Japanese names. I think it's been the fundamental difference from Saturday AM and like OEL manga that came out from Tokyo Pop back in the day. By the way, folks, we're gonna be talking about all of this later today with a great panel with a bunch of AAPI citizens and legends. Ku and Beth Kawasaki and Michael Sohn from Tapas. So it's going to be a really good panel talking about the digital future of manga. And I talked to Stu Levy, CEO and founder of Tokyo Pop, about the history of manga. But OEO manga that Tokyo Pop helped to introduce, was introduced beforehand, but he helped to really popularize. That was always my problem with that type of content, was that it was people who weren't Japanese creating Japanese characters. Again, going back to hip hop, it just reminds me, and I say this all the time, it was to me no different than somebody who's not black, who loves hip hop music, sagging their pants, turning their hat behind their back, and doing all these theatrical moves to represent hip hop. And it's like, that's not all black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were trying to emulate us to sell your thing. So I've always pushed them, and I'm still pushing them to make their content more representative of things that are real, they can speak about, as opposed to that kind of fanboy element of, oh, I like this type of content. I'm gonna create something that looks like that. Saturday M should be bigger than that. And so you're gonna see a lot of our content start to evolve. Some of the older content evolve, so that's not the case. But certainly, diversity was always for me one of the top elements, either of creator or of series or character.
And speaking of that element of evolve and evolution, how has that evolved from one to now in terms of, is it getting more artists in, more talented artists in, new concept and the actual magazines? How's that process of evolution happened?
Yeah, I mean, so it does. I mean, so look, I mean, Ed, you've talked about this in the past in some of our interviews that we've done. We talked about Malcolm Gladwell and Tipping Point, all those things, right? So to anybody watching this, right? Obviously, the more you do things, the better you get at it. That's why consistency is so important. Just like with you guys, I'm sure your first couple of podcasts you maybe didn't like. But you told me that. You told me, Ed, you said that Solo had a horrible microphone.
Terrible mic, honestly.
You see what happens. So meanwhile, your internet is the one that's constantly shaking.
Right. My internet's fine. I'm on 1,000 right now. My internet. Solo was terrible, man. We had so many complaints.
My internet is good though. I got the worry, Raymond. I got
They're not hearing your internet; they're hearing your voice, right? So, anyway, sorry, go on, Fred.
No. I was just gonna say that. So I think you improve over time, right? And so I like to break news. We'll break some news, and the part I love about this is that I'm gonna break some news to kind of answer your question and throw some new stuff out there, and I'm gonna do it about Bully Eater with Raymond, who is there, who looks frozen on the camera. So I love it because I'm going to say these things. I know he's going to be shocked. I can't see him shocked. So it's going to be like he's in approval.
That's my shock face.
Yeah.
So this is Bully Eater. This is Raymond's character. This is a Jabberwocky toy. We've got a panel with them folks on tomorrow. This is Bully Eater, and you can see, obviously, you guys look on the screen here, you can see this character is really cool. In fact, they have this on their website because this is a cool design. And you guys will notice, I'm going to put this right here on the screen, because right next to it is Raymond, and they look exactly alike. And so one of the things that, so I used to get on Raymond about that a little bit, and still do, about the fact that your Bully Eater kind of has some really generic elements to it. And one of the things I've been thinking about as we look to reintroduce Bully Eater is trying to get to a place where we're talking about something real. And so Raymond had this idea. My thing is always to try to take what the creators have and try to evolve it, try to elevate it. So Raymond has always had this notion that Sal, who's the main character, is biracial. didn't look particularly diverse. We had this concept. And does anyone know where the largest concentration of Japanese people are in the world outside of Japan? Does anybody know the answer to this?
Isn't it Brazil?
It is Brazil. Thank you, Ed. Ed, get a sticker, buddy. Solo.
I was
You
gonna
got
say
a
that.
chance. You had a chance, Solo.
Clearly, you guys spoke about this before the pod.
No. I'm very cultured. I'm very smart and cultured solo. I dragged the show, so yeah.
I like it.
I was gonna say
it so
before you
quickly.
lag.
Like, clearly, you all colluded.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously,
You just can't take it.
Don't take no props. Don't take no props for being smart. Y'all colluded.
I said Brazil, but it lagged. So
People watching
that.
this.
I thought you had amazing internet range.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed. Get them in, folks. Watching this, what you just saw Solo do is low expectations.
So we'll catch up after the call. We gotta talk.
We'll talk.
Yeah, so you know, when we were introduced Bully Eater, one of the things that I really want to try to touch on with the series, and I think it delves beautifully into what his concept was, which is a guy who stands up for those who get preyed upon, is I really want to try to direct it. I want to try to reboot it and redirect it into an area that involves haifu, half Japanese, half other folks, and to really tie into that Brazilian subculture, which is also prevalent in Japan, and to really, because one of the things as well that we know is in Japan, rarely is touched on in manga, are Japanese people who are of African descent. And so I think this allows us to kind of touch in all these different ways and enable us to get some really unique stories in there. Still huge, close to what Raymond had, but really goes in a direction I think is more apropos for Saturday AM, which is to take real things and find the drama and the fun in them, while also intermingling fantasy. But the real part that people of color, and I think this is something that always affects people who, or is what a lot of people who talk about diversity maybe are of color, is that, you know, race is not always a subject matter. But when you understand race, you understand the gravity of what it's like to be a person in these situations, right? Batman, as Bruce Wayne, is kind of like a template. Batman, as an African American, is a revelation. So I think those type of things are things we really want to try to, really want to try to unpack those elements, right, and try to bring more of that into our content. And so that's something that you're going to probably see. So that's a good example of like the evolution of things. You know, something that before was kind of like, you know, Street Fighter, Dragon Ball stuff, and then trying to maybe evolve it a bit more and get it closer to keeping those elements, but also, you know, really going into a direction that really touches on some real things that are happening that does involve a direct conversation about diversity and real Japanese subcultures.
Nice. And taking kind of, did you use? Was that a selling point for? So was that a selling point for the first issue? How did you use that amongst other things to kind of really generate interest in the issues for Saturday?
It was certainly. I mean, marketing wise, it certainly was, right? Because I mean, again, like the whole hook of this. I mean, like you know, as Raymond said, you know, yeah. I mean, from a marketing standpoint, yeah, I wanted people who had like an audience, right? But at the same time, though, like I mean, none of their audiences were like. I mean, don't get it twisted. Like, white was not the white manga of today back then, not even close. So you know, it was just one of those things where it was like, you know, what I wanted and the way we marketed it was that, hey, this is a Shonen Jump style piece of content that is built specifically for people who are celebratory in the fact that they're not Japanese people, Japanese.
And what was the reaction like back in the early days? What was the reaction like when it was released?
You know, I'll let Raymond answer it real quick. I know we got some questions in the audience, but I'll let Raymond answer that real quickly. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, obviously we wouldn't be here today if people didn't vibe with it. But Raymond, what would you make?
Oh yeah, man. I mean,
I remember digesting that Bully Eater stuff. But come on, get it.
For real, it's news to me. You'd be like, so what's the plan next for Bully Eater? But no, I remember reading. I remember when we were done with it, and God, I don't know how many times I read through that first issue. I mean, just looking through it, just so proud. I mean, it was really, really cool. It's funny. I mean, the reception was really good. We had a lot of comments, a lot of people saying positive things. Of course, you had a couple of haters out there.
Mm.
I guess what was funny to me was that, like, thinking back on it, some of the comments were things like, "Oh, there's no way you guys could ask for a subscription for a magazine."
Right.
It was so weird. I know it sounds strange today, but that's literally comments we got. Like, you guys, because at that time, webcomic stuff like were free. Like
Raymond, tell him how much the subscription was, though. That's the kicker. Tell him how much the subscription was.
Excuse my country. $5. $5 a year. For the year.
A year.
For the year.
A year.
Wow.
So like,
Well,
yeah, so like
$5. I can't pay $5 for manga. You crazy? I could go read for free somewhere. Blah blah blah. So it's funny, but it was one of those things where I'll always kind of hold on to us as the pioneers of that, because I mean, literally people,
absolutely,
they all. I mean, it's commonplace today. All of our competitors, or people trying to compete with us, do the same. They do it and make it seem like it was always that way. No. We decided that the content that what we were bringing had value, and it had a monetary value, and paid it. But overall, it was. I mean, the reception was great. It was amazing to see the reception and
nice.
How people took to the magazine.
Nice. And how do you deal with like competitors and the haters and so on? I know, Frederick, we've spoken a lot about this, but Raymond, just to get your kind of opinion on it, how do you deal with those? Consistency.
I mean, we just kept going. We kept going, and they didn't. A lot of times. Yeah. That was really the big thing. We didn't have to like get in different rap beefs with them or anything like that, and going back and forth. We had to do any of that stuff. We just literally kept producing the work and kept evolving what we were doing. Right. And and when the smoke cleared, most of them were gone. Honestly.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's before Ed and I did the podcast, and you hear successful people, and they say, "Oh, so what's the key to success?" And they say consistency. I'll be honest, I was thought, yeah, okay, cool. What's the real key? Like that's, but then when you get into it, it's so cliche that it hurts my heart, but it's so true. Just keep doing it. Just stay consistent. You'll be surprised at what you can achieve by just staying consistent.
A lot of things. Another thing I say about it is that too. Every time, if you look at any one of our magazine covers, we have what issue it is, big and bold, right now on the cover somewhere. We've changed it over a year where it's located, but you can't miss it. And when you look and you see 140, that's 140 issues. That's crazy. That's great.
That's true. Yeah. I would just say real quickly, then we'll try to save the last couple of minutes. I think White's in the chat as well, so if that's so we can have you available for questions from the audience. But I obviously, I've gotten probably the most abuse of all, but because at the end of the day, the people know, they know what's up. They know that that started this and so forth. You got the kids who, their hero is white, so they want to see white. They what I've always said is that they want to like get a white man go or sing or something else. Like you always see these groups of pop. What they really want is to have their comic idea associated with a person. The idea of like this old black guy, who's in control of this company, all these awesome artists, like why him? Like, oh man, he's this and he's that. And so I hear all these different stuff. I've been called racist by people who are obviously not of color. I've been called the F word, anti-gay slurs, because I've been promoting LGBTQ services since the beginning. I've been called the N word, of course. I've been called that we're not black enough. I'm not black enough because I'm not because we're not all black, right? We had a few competitors who popped up in the years afterwards, and they really held on to that, really made that a core part of the business and used it to counter us, right? They're like, oh, sorry, you can't trust me, black enough. So I have a unique position on this because I've been attacked on all sides, from the left and from the right. And again, the problem that they've all got is that at the end of the day, this is a show. I did number two is that I was raised by two really strong black people who taught me how to advance and not have to worry about these things. So, or not to let these things bother you. So, it's unfortunate that the world is set up this way. Now it's got worse because of social media. You have a lot of anonymous trolls and so forth. And we've dealt with it. And I've had various cyber threats and so forth. But at the end of the day, I still adhere to the fact that consistency to what we do matters. The inspiration that we provide. We're gonna be 10. We're gonna have 150 issues this summer. We're gonna be 10 years old in 2023. But like that, that means there's a kid who grew up. There are kids who grew up with us already. There will be a kid who literally grew up with us and maybe has kids of their own. And when you start getting to that level of longevity, you understand it's not about today. It's not about the right. It's about those kids who create the next generation of content. They're inspired by our approach. Told them that everybody, regardless of what they look like, really
releasing you there.
Right. They can be anybody, and that's what's so important.
Cool. Nice. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to kind of take a pause here and take a look at the chat and see if you've got any questions that have come through.
Let me see as well.
Let's see what we got.
Why? Oh, go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a. So Fred, apparently you're Rhydon, the stoic that keeps on working, right? I like that.
Yes, love it.
I like that. Ed, apparently you're definitely not Snorlax, based on how
I
you
never said I was Snorlax. I said I was Zapdos.
That's Mom Snorlax.
Oh, Raymond.
I'm gonna find that right now.
Keep telling the Pokemons in. That was so funny. Fred, I know I've asked you this question, but why the name Saturday AM? Someone's asked here.
Because I grew up in the 70s, and before obviously the internet, before I had really discovered comic books, Saturday morning cartoons were the thing that allowed geeks of that era to dream. You could see it in cartoons, and you had a chance to imagine space stories and this and that. I mean, I'm old enough. That's all I tell people. Like, I'm not young, obviously, to see my grade, but I'm old enough to where I remember when Star Wars came out. So it really, I've actually been a part, or I remember the shifts, the way that we used to think about things, and the way that we started thinking about things, and the way that things have evolved further. So to me, and I think a lot of people in my generation, Saturday AM, and Raymond can speak to this. Raymond, he's about maybe a decade or two younger. Raymond can attest that when we've gone to meetings, when we've met the public, and we talk to parents and so on and so forth, the minute they hear Saturday AM, they get it. They know exactly what we're doing. Like there's no selling them. They're like, oh yeah, cool, I like that. So yeah, it's just a personal thing, but it's a great name. I think it's stuck. I mean, I'm quite proud of the name.
Nice. I'm trying to find other questions from the chat. If not, I'll ask my own. Hold on. Where did you start beyond getting people? Where did you start to build a platform? I think you answered that, but you can answer it again. But yeah, just want to know where did you start and where did you get that? Where did you start to build your platform?
We did Frankenstein it. I mean, again, we've been around long enough where a lot of the technology people use today didn't exist back then. So when we got started, we had to jerry rig the whole thing. We used Gumroad for subscriptions. We created our product. We were able to package it and distribute it that way. Social media sites to market it. There's no way we didn't have a way to do the website. So we made it to where you had to pay to experience it.
Yeah, because I remember one of the site like now there's subscription sites all over the place, but we couldn't even find a company that could set us up with a subscription. We literally had to take two companies and just put them together. I can't remember what the companies were right now.
Selfie was the other one.
Selfie, yeah, we did Selfie for the physical magazines, and then we did another one for the subscription part of it or something. I think.
Well, not physical, but we did it for the single digital issues. So we would sell the single digital issues, but the key thing was to do is subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was all over the map. So and that's not a problem today because now there are a dime a dozen now where you can find places to get a subscription based thing going.
Yeah,
right.
it's all over the place. Like this, you can get it all over the place. One question I've seen that is quite interesting as well. Like, can you both of you share a couple of things about the vision of Saturday AM for the next few years? Like, what's the kind of the goal for both of you?
I would love to hear Raymond's answer on this. Raymond, what is the vision for Saturday AM?
Well, I was hoping you go first so I can think of an answer. But
what I do love is our relationship, guys, is very simple. I come up with a vision and they execute. That's really how it works. Like, it's very rare that,
I don't get that question.
The vision what Saturday AM has, because I'm the one who typically has to do this stuff. So please tell me, what is the vision for Saturday AM?
Oh my God. Yeah.
On the spot.
Yeah, for real. Nice way to put me on the spot. Yeah, exactly. You know what I learned over the years? No matter what I say, Fred is going to have some beautiful way of basically saying that's not what he should have said. That this is what he should have said.
Raymond, you're not alone. Solo doesn't know the vision for Super Anime Podcast either, so it's okay.
See, I don't know where you're getting energy and confidence from, Ed, but it's okay.
Yeah, hey, look, to be around.
You don't know nothing.
That's what I was going to say, Raymond.
Yeah.
Raymond, that's the only answer.
That's the vision I got. Still be here. And still have be ball voluntarily. So
what I was saying, we have a panel tonight. In fact, I'm going to break the panel up. So the panel will be tonight, and and I'll have part 2 in the morning. It's because I didn't have time to finish everything for the panel. We have that many announcements. But we're going to talk tonight and tomorrow morning about all the things that we have coming up. So I would just say to folks, stay tuned. We do have some gigantic announcements, but obviously the core of it is to continue to build revenues and to be in a position to where our folks can actually make this their permanent job. And then 2, creators, staff, everybody. And then 2 is to have our brand be big enough to compete with the biggest companies out there. And so when you think about the fact we have a graphic novel deal and we're dropping 10 books in our first year, that immediately puts us in the boat of some really big companies out there. Whether or not they sell, like, that's another story, and you guys can change that tonight. But yeah, I mean, that's the macro of our vision for sure.
Yeah, and I think we discussed this on Saturday FM, the Saturday AM podcast. Go and listen to that. But you should always go into something with your measurement of success and what success looks like to you. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed, you know. So wherever it is in terms of your goals, your strategy, whatever it is, always have something whereby, you know, this is what success looks like to me. So to add on there. How do you think your brand and journey has influenced other companies in terms of championing by diversity? Great question.
Well, like we said, we have a number of competitors that have popped up, and you know, and I'll say, you know, I mean, obviously, some of them have certainly been involved in the harassment of us and stuff at times, and I don't take it as, even though some of it's been personal to me, I don't take it necessarily in a devious way. I mean, you know, the reality is these people want to have success. You know, they want to make it, and they see us doing it. And they're trying to figure out, well, what can we do? Like, you know, it's a crab in the bucket theory. What can we do to prevent them going up so that we maybe can go up in their place? So I get it, and you know, we've interacted with all of them in one way or another, but or been an inspiration in one way or another. But I think that, I think the biggest thing that we've done, and obviously the thing that I always talk about in terms of my frustration with some of these groups, has just been that, sorry, you're gonna hear my dog. I don't know if she's hacking up there, but she's walking around. One of my frustrations with the groups has always just been, at the end of the day, I'm like, you know, I'm old school, as I've indicated. Like, I'm not young. I've been doing this for, and most of these folks have no business background whatsoever. They've never worked in corporate America, never worked in a corporate environment, period. So I don't say that to say, oh, that makes me better than them. No, of course not. My point in saying that, though, is that, look, there is a way this stuff is done. And maybe that changes. Maybe they're the ones who change it. But I'm from that era where there was a way things are done. I'm from an era to where when you had, you know, Kool Moe Dee come out, and then LL Cool J came up behind him. You know, he wanted to make sure LL Cool J paid respect to what he did before. There was a thing recently where Tyler the Creator was at one of the award ceremonies and made a point to call out LL Cool J, call out Fab Five Freddy, call out all these classic rappers that paved the way for him to be respected. He has nothing stylistically in common with any of them. But he made sure to let people know that he's in his position he's got today because of the giants that allowed him to walk in those footsteps. Saturday AM has pioneered so many things. The diversity element. I mean, Raymond can tell you the shots that we've taken promoting diversity. For someone to act like that diversity was always a thing is ridiculous. No one was talking about it the way that we did. No one was putting together their content the way we did. No one was making their content be siloed and say, no, there's a value to our content. You got to pay for it if you want to experience it. No one was doing it. No one cared about logos. Raymond knows as well. We took pride in creating logos for our series. If you saw some of the logos people had back in the day, shameful. So, the notion that, the fact that we've tried to take a professional approach to our content, that to me is the biggest thing that we've been able to provide so many folks. No matter when you look at any of the other groups out there, when they put their stuff together and so forth, it is spiritually similar to what Saturday has done since 2013.
And I'll just add to it a good physical example you can see is if you look into you go to our website and check out the March On Madness section. On that site, on that portion of the site, you can actually see all the years leading up to the current year, and just look at the quality. Just look at the art quality of the first year to the last one. But more importantly, look at the story selection, because I think that the first couple of years, a lot of the ones that were submitted were literally ripoffs of other comics, Dragon Ball or Naruto or My Hero, whatever. But man, if you look at the most recent this year's, you'll see there were all kind of concepts that were like, whoa, this is, I've never heard anything before. One that stands out to me is one called, I'm probably gonna mess up the name, but it's Marry, Protect, Kill. It was a really cool concept. And, and there was a score of them just like that. It had really cool titles, had really cool concepts that, that we wouldn't have gotten years prior. And that's one of the things I think that we've catered over the years is just like, listen, it's okay to do your own thing. It's okay to have your own voice in this space and do something completely original. So, that's one of the things I saw.
There's just a question for you, Raymond. It just came up, and there's one other one that I saw, but I'll ask this one first. What advice can you give to creators who how can they stay consistent when they feel like no one's watching them? There we go. Thank you. No one can see you because there's a lot of artists that don't have the visibility despite trying their best. Like, what advice can you give to people in that type of position?
Sure. I mean, the big thing is, set goals for yourself for one. Set realistic goals. Something that you can actually achieve, even if that's something like, hey, I'm going to draw, a new piece of art, every day, or every other day, or by the end of the week I should have 3 pages. Whatever the goal may be, set goals for yourself so that way you can take the emotion out of it for a minute. So that way, regardless of if anybody sees it or not, you'll get that affirmation that, look, I said by Friday I was going to have 3 pages done. 3 pages are done. So that way, you're not, you can still be productive without having that burden of, oh, nobody's, paying attention or, or doing what I'm doing. And eventually, like we said, the consistency piece, that is cliche, but, if you keep doing that, eventually you'll have a library of work. Like I can tell you what happened with me is that I was doing Bully Eater for so long, and I didn't realize until Saturday AM came out how much content I had, because I was just poking it with a stick, just doing what I could. And so when people do find you and discover you, they discover you hard. Literally, you guys may have, I'm sure a lot of artists on in here may have experienced where you'll go on Instagram and then you'll find one person, better yet, you'll see a notification that you have 20, 30 likes. You're like, oh, what's up with that? And you go in there and it's all for one person, because that one person found you and discovered you, and they're really into what you're doing. They're really into your body of work. So, best I can say is just, find a way to, keep yourself in there, just keep doing something, and then, keep putting your stuff out there, and eventually it's going to hit for someone, because you're going to find it, if you're into your content, there's somebody else out there that's into it as well.
I really like what you mentioned about setting goals, and so you can take the emotion out of it. because a lot of us, because you know, it's our work, you know, it's like no one listened, no one saw my video, I put all my blood, sweat and tears into it, so it can feel personal. Like we do podcasts, I've done YouTube in the past, it can feel personal, but like you mentioned, be consistent. And another thing I would say is the old adage of if you build it they will come is not necessarily true, especially these days.
That's right.
So if you really want it, you have to put yourself out there, you have to like network, you have to reach out to people. The only reason why me and Solo here is because we reach out to Saturday AM. So it's just about getting yourself out there and backing yourself. So that's what I'll just add to that.
And the other thing I'll add to that is when eventually you do begin to get, you know, people starting to know who you are and people starting to notice your work, you got to pay attention to who you listen to, you know, because there's going to be a lot of voices coming, you know, and you have to listen to people that have your best interest in mind. And also people that know what you're going through. So a lot of times, you know, on one side of it, you can have people, you know, discourage you by saying certain things that would set you off or you discourage you. Just ignore those people. But if you can find, you know, even 1, 2, 3 people that do what you do, as far as like making comments or what have you, and they're in the battle with you, those are the people that you want to listen to, because those people, they get it. They get what it you know, that it's not just your comic, it's a reflection of you in a way. So
yeah, collaboration is so important. Like for some reason we've grown up like your collaborators, your competitor, which it shouldn't be the case. You know, we can all eat, you know, there's enough quote unquote pie for everyone to like eat. So just because someone's doing what you're doing, they're not you. You know, you have to be your authentic self, you have to back yourself. You are you. That was what makes you unique in that sense. So yeah, just keep going. Was there any other questions?
There was one. I actually went into the chat. There's one. So yeah, I'm not sure how much you can say about this, Raymond. But will we have a Saturday AM anime series? I think he's frozen.
My 4K went out. I cannot say anything about it.
Okay.
It's definitely outside of we're working at it. I'll bring out my inner friend and say, you guys support the graphic novel. that will definitely be a big step in getting us there. So
I love his Fred impersonation.
That's right.
The Obama thing, isn't it?
Hit it with the Obama fist. That means you're sincere if you hit them with this.
I actually did want to ask Fred about that and you, because when Fred came on our podcast, he mentioned something about you guys doing a multiverse, which sounds very exciting.
Yeah, now that I can speak to. That is real. That is you're gonna get your first taste of that inside of the graphic novels. I won't spoil it, but that seed is gonna be sown in the graphic novel. So you guys definitely need to check it out so you can be in the know for that.
So there you go. You heard it here. So let's support the graphic novels and get it where we can enjoy this. We can all enjoy it together. Nice. So
just gonna say, where can people get the books?
Hey, here we go.
Hey.
Oh, white joints. I think there should be a link somewhere I can put it.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
How you going? How's it going? You good?
Yeah. Actually feeling a little weird, but I'm feeling better now. Kind of woke up weird. You know when you have to puke, but nothing's coming out, and your stomach is just not feeling it. But it's settled now. I feel like I've come in. You know that guy that comes in late in the band, and he's like the problematic guy, but he kind of has to be there. You know, come in, and I clean my nails. It's like, well, I didn't do anything. What? I've been clean the whole time. So apologies for that, but yes, like you mentioned, if trust me, the anime will happen if a lot of people buy the books. That's just
buy the books, people. Buy the books.
That's just a card down that path. Like it makes things easier down that path.
So real quickly, let me say real quickly, I'm gonna have to hop off now. But you obviously have White, so you have some great information from him. I'll continue to leave you in the very capable hands of Raymond. I will be ending shortly. But I really appreciate it, Ed. So you guys rock. So happy you guys agreed to do this. But you guys have fun with this last portion of the chat, and everybody, we'll see you guys. Our next panel happens shortly after this, changing the face of American comics with the wonderful Sanford Green, Jay Oden, and Asia Fulmore, and moderated by Daniel Broadway of Black Girl Nerds. So take care, everybody. Keep watching. This great panel. Really great. And I don't know who's controlling this. You have to take me out now. Whoever's controlling this, take me out.
Leave him in there. Nah. White, just a quick question, because we asked this in the beginning. What was your first impressions, given that Raymond's here, of Raymond when you first met him?
Crazy person. No, I'm just kidding. I thought first impression of Raymond, I thought he was very, level-headed, definitely talented. Just looking at his work, even the name Bully Eater was kind of got my attention. But I thought he was very friendly and down to cut straight to the chase. Let's make something happen, and a sense of honesty. It seems like look at him, seems like a trustworthy guy. Look at him, seems like a trustworthy guy. And that's like short answer. That was my first impression of Raymond. Talented, straight to the point, and less likely to stab me in the back type thing.
Oh, really? Because he was saying he's better than you before he came on. So
you see, I know for a fact that's a lie.
Yeah, it really is.
You tried to.
It's funny. It's funny why he says that about the stab in the back part, because I think this is around the time where you had your little run-in with he'll remain nameless, but you remember that guy you were working with on the comic book?
Yeah. So the beginning, during that time, and especially I don't know if you guys covered it. I saw some of the before I hopped on stage. I saw some. I was listening to you guys. So I don't know if you covered it, like Ink Blazer stuff, and so I worked with like this artist. No, with this writer who is.
I thought Fred was him at first. I'll be honest. I thought Fred.
Nah. This dude was on another level of like crazy, like legitimate. Till today, there were moments where I didn't feel like even going back and forth with him, just in case he was like legitimately crazy, right? Mm-hmm. And so he would say things like, "Oh, the anime studio almost picked up my work. In fact, it was between my story and the other story that got picked up. I was this close, called Dead Leaves, and my story is even better than that one. And this, that." And he was like super the man. Look, that is a whole podcast by itself. I'm not even gonna lie. And even the reason that there was a point where I was like, why am I even working with this guy? And I think ultimately it was I think I just told myself I like to finish what I start. And in the beginning, it wasn't that crazy. There were some signs, but I ignored the signs. Like that troublesome boyfriend, girlfriend that you just kind of let. You ignored the signs when you should have run. You should have ran away.
So, red flags. You ignore the red flags.
Yeah, the red flags, bloody flags. The flag is dripping. So I never heard from him again, but I did one comic with him, was called Samurai Top Hat, and again there was so many issues with how it came out, production, stuff that happened after, stuff that happened before, and I don't want to I could go on and on and on and on and on. But definitely had issues with him, and had issues with a couple other artists. The art community, especially now, I think is actually much better. Everybody's much more welcoming, and all of that. But that time there was like some weird energy.
It was like the Wild Wild West, man. You had.
Do you remember that Tumblr post?
Which one?
That Tumblr post after like the first couple issues of Saturday AM, that somebody posted something, and it was this long essay. There was basically a review. There was basically a review of the comic of the issue, and he said terrible stuff about everybody's comic except for one person who was his friend.
Right.
And then he, in the essay, it basically painted me to be like this mastermind villain behind the whole Saturday AM.
Right.
When,
You should be
when
sitting in the
really,
dark right now.
yeah. When really it's Fred. It's not me. I'm I'm just chilling. But it painted me out to be this evil guy, as putting my character in front of everything and this, that. And I was just like, dude, it made me look like I had henchmen. And it's funny because they're very vocal about that kind of, they have that energy when they're posting stuff publicly. Then a few months later, you want to send a private DM talking about, oh, I'm sorry about this and that. And so there were a lot of weird people like that
Weird
in
time.
the beginning. Less so now.
Good.
They still exist, but much less so now.
Yeah.
Everybody's much better. They're much more Raymond-y.
That's good. That was a good thing. What was since like the early days? What's been like the biggest learning for you both that you've kind of taken away from since starting Saturday AM?
Go ahead, White.
Biggest takeaway. Biggest since starting takeaway. Biggest thing. One of the biggest things is just to really soak in the impact of diversity and how important it is for some people to see themselves in their heroes, and the kind of impact it has on them. Sometimes you don't even think too much about it, and especially when you go to the conventions and you see some of these people and they start talking about, oh man, when I saw like this character who forget about Saturday AM even for a second. Even if you just looking at stuff like Miles Morales or Black Panther, kind of shows you what I'm talking about. And just starting when we started with Saturday AM, I just didn't know how I knew diversity was important, but I didn't know just how important it was until we really started to put boots to the ground. And as time went on, it just became more and more apparent that we were onto something. And obviously it's not all diverse. It's not all about that. Like, your story needs to be interesting, and there are a lot of other pieces that need to come into play. If not, none of it matters. But I think that was one of the. I think there are lots of lessons that we've learned over the years from a managerial standpoint, dealing with artists. Like now, I can look at somebody's Instagram page and I can just know if they can make comics or not.
Okay.
Raymond could do it too. It's like you immediately look at the Instagram, like, okay, this person can make. Oh no, they can't. Oh, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of experience from behind the scenes, coming out with the issues again, trying to be consistent, and you've learned some things the hard way. So there's a lot to point because we've been at this for a couple of years, but definitely the diversity thing is high up there.
Sure.
We've got another question from the audience. I focus on QR on my account, but I also share comic related stuff. Both very different. Is that an unprofessional approach?
Raymond?
No. I mean, no. I mean, whatever you got to do to get your stuff out there. I mean, the only thing that I see on Instagram that's really kind of quote unquote unprofessional is if you mix messages up. Like if you have your Instagram account and it has, a bunch of pictures of you, hanging out with your friends, and then some art, and then some more pictures of you and your friends, and then another piece of art. Those kind of channels are really hard to, those kind of profiles are really hard to, know what's going on. If that's the case, I would, suggest, maybe making a channel just for your art, so that way people can actually, know what's, what to expect from you, things like that, and it'll catch on. But for the most part, as long I hadn't seen your account, but as long as your account is up there, people having fun, you're interacting with people that are interacting with your artwork and stuff like that, and I don't know if you have a big channel or not, but one piece of advice I heard that was really good is that while your channel or your Instagram is small and you have the ability to shout out all the people that leave comments, do it. Talk to them, say hello. But no, to answer your question, I don't think so.
Yeah, especially if you mix it up, Instagram's not even going to like you anyways. So they won't share it. You can have, I'm sure people have seen it. You can have like a certain amount of followers, but when you post something that's inconsistent with what the account sees as your most successful type of post is going to reach less people. It's going to, so from a growth standpoint, a social media knowledge savvy standpoint, it's not even a good idea. It's always good to, it's not just consistency of, you know, putting stuff out there. You can consistently put out garbage and that's not going to work. So it's like consistency in putting stuff out, consistency in putting good stuff out that is, you know, in line with what your followers expect from you. But in your case, if I don't know exactly, but in your case, if that's what you've consistently been doing and that's you've seen some growth in it, then I think you should be fine.
Nice. Another question I've seen here, which is on the chat, is it'd be good to get an answer from both of you here. How long did it take for you to complete your first comic one shot?
Well, for me, I entered mine into a contest. This is long before Saturdaycon came along, but I entered mine into a uni.
The same contest. The same.
Oh,
contest.
you in there too?
The same contest.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the first time I is either the first time I came across Raymond or met or something. Because even long before the Saturday AM stuff, we had exchanged maybe a couple comments here and there. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So they were looking for the next superstar or something like that. They had some cheesy like headline, you know, whatever. But they were, you know, so that's what spurred me to actually take action and do something. So the very first comic I did, God, man, it probably took me 6 months to make 20 pages. You know, that's how long it took because I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about a clip studio or manga studio, whatever was out at the time. The only thing I had was Photoshop, and I think I made the comic in Illustrator. So I mean, I completely did it the hard way. So it took me a really long time. So it should not take anybody nowadays with the clip studio out there and all that stuff. I mean, it shouldn't take that long. I mean, you know, fast forward. The second comic I did only took me about a month and a half to do. So I went from 6 months down to a month and a half once I actually figured some things out and figured out what I was doing. And then, you know, past that, when I was in my prime, I was able to do about a chapter. It would probably take me a good, when I was in my prime, it would take me about 2.5 weeks to finish the whole chapter. So nice. I pulled down since because of kids and stuff. So, and wife.
For me, the first one-shot chapter thing I did, I can't remember how long it took. I just remember it being terrible, and I didn't even use proper tools. You talking about Illustrator? I think I drew it with just pencil and left it as pencil, like I didn't know anything. And I was like,
was that Candle Jack White? Was that Candle Jack? Was that Candle Jack?
No, this was even before that.
Candle Jack. Okay.
This was my first stab at Apple Black, but it wasn't Apple Black. It was like something different. It's still the same story ish, right? Obviously, it's evolved over time, but that was like my first stab at it. And I did like 50. I can't even remember how many pages, but I just remember everybody, when any of my friends or my brothers saw it, was like, wow, this is. And I just remember it now because visually it's still like the picture is in my head, and I was like, nah, that's trash. That's actually trash. But I don't know. It took me maybe, especially because it was how it was produced, poorly produced. Maybe it took me a month, right? But the first time I produced something that maybe looks a little closer to what we have now, even though it was still trash, would be that Candle Jack thing. And Candle Jack probably took a month. It took a month. Maybe slightly less. Because I was trying to enter the same contest thing that Raymond was. Didn't really expect to win. It was more of like, okay, we're getting used to it. I'm like getting in the groove and learning. And probably took a month. And it shows because it's riddled with issues. Then I started dealing with the crazy writer, and you go on from there.
Cool. I think we have time for one more question. I just saw one actually in the chat regarding what inspired you as creators in terms of your movies. It's not up here, but let me quickly.
Yeah, so the thing was, what movies inspired you?
What movies inspires you as creators? Then we'll stop it there. So if you can both just.
I'll be quick with mine. Mine has always been 90s anime, any of it. Any of it.
Mm.
90s anime.
Nice.
Mine is if we're going with movies, there's movies that have like a very satisfying ending, satisfying plot twist to them. The plot twist that when it happens, it makes you go, oh. Then yes, that's a Sixth Sense, Fight Club.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like Fight Club changed the whole. Because luckily for me, when I saw Fight Club, even though it had been out for a while, I didn't know what the twist was, and so when it happened, I just started seeing everything differently.
Trust issues. You get trust issues after.
Yeah, I started seeing everything different because in my head I was like, how would you even come up with a twist like that? Like who? And then creatively, it inspired. Brains turning, so you can imagine there's stuff like that happening in App Black.
Thank you guys so much. I know we had a podcast with you, White Manga, and you talked about twists. So please, if you want to listen to more, you can go and listen to that. We've had Fred. Ray would also love to have you on the podcast, complete the set, as it were. And you said 90s anime. I'm sure we can definitely geek out on that. But thank you, everyone who joined the stream. Thank you so much for the comments. We really, really appreciate it. I hope you've learned a lot in terms of the history of Saturday AM. These guys are doing big things, have done big things. Please go support, get the graphic novels. They are going to be out. They're going to be fire. And if you like anime podcast, Super Anime Podcast with 3 U's, would really, really appreciate it and listen. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. There's more stuff coming, so don't leave. There's more stuff coming on Saturdaycon, so stay tuned. Thank you.
Have fun, everybody.
Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.